What will actually happen if the US government defaults on its debt? I honestly don't know. We're going to find out why they hired all those new IRS agents is what. A coin will be minted and deposited to the Federal Reserve and paid back to the government with freshly printed dollarinos. I always preferred custom over default. Nothing because nothing ever happens. It'll affect the West disproportionately is all I'm gonna say. The economy will recover 100% guaranteed. This is one reason they want default, other reason being elections. If no debt ceiling agreement is reached, then certain parts of the government will not be paid, but interest on treasuries will still be paid because it's the most important. The stock market will start dumping every day as less and less things get paid because new treasuries can't be created. Eventually the stock market dumps so much that politicians are forced to make a deal or watch their own retirement funds get wiped out. Unless they all decided to short the market, in which case it's over. Debts? We don't pay, sorry. Yeah, I know, we're just not gonna pay them, the debts, I'm sorry. Crypto won't necessarily dump along with the stock market. Bitcoin was used as a hedge against banking issues when the banking crisis started recently. If things start getting messed up in the USA, it's possible that Bitcoin either won't be affected or it'll go higher. Or it might dump to zero and gold will be bid higher. Or both gold and Bitcoin will dump to zero and treasuries will go to the moon. It's really unknown right now where the money will flow. My bet is on long-term treasury bonds. God bless. T-Brainlet, why you fit right in. It won't happen, it's all talk to force a compromise. There might be a shutdown for a month or two, but the money printer must run. They'll just cut benefits for the working class. More money for war machine and banks. US bonds would technically default. Whether the US defaulted de jure is decided by a committee of US players, so they'll delay the admission of a default for as long as they can. Technically a defaulted bond is worth zero, and even if nobody announces that default, there'd be chaos in the money markets, as some participants would count them as being worth zero and others not. The result would be a disappearance of liquidity in the bond market, since everyone would be scared to hold US bonds. Since most bank money is created by loans collateralized by bonds, i.e. bonds for cash, there'd be suddenly a lot less cash to go around. Meanwhile, dollar liabilities would remain since international trade is conducted in dollars, so people would also find it difficult to pay their bills. As a result, international trade would grind to a halt with all the attendant consequences. People would try to get away from the dollar as fast as possible, but that's not possibly very much in such a chaotic environment. There'd be all sorts of currencies coming out of the woodwork. Gold-backed something or other, RMB, JPY or whatnot. Interest rates would start to swing around wildly as a result of sudden spikes in demand for these currencies. As a base effect, this would drive rates down, since there'd be suddenly a lot more demand for non-USD currencies as a life raft, but this would lead to more attempted central bank tightening, which run the risk of driving interest rates in those currencies up suddenly and dramatically as demand shifts around, with people trying to find the next currency to be in, and you know how they panic. Such a snap move up in interest rates could then lead to sudden financial shocks. Well, all shocks are sudden, but you know what I mean, in those non-USD markets too. Huge drama show, nothing really happens, except for behind-the-scene money and power grab by politicians/corporations. Gigabrain, probably. The public needs this BS show to think that politicians have any use. All the stuff your country has to import will become insanely expensive, and then the ones who own your domestic products will jack up the price and claims it's also due to inflation. And like the stupid cuck that you'll pay it while mumbling under your breath about how unfair things are. Then they'll offer you a devil's bargain, convert to their central bank digital currency and be their blockchain slave for the rest of your life, or die.